I think it's important that we just open up with a few facts. And that is, what is a showreel? Cut to you. How long should it be? Settle down. Hello and welcome back to another Actors on Set podcast. My name's Nathan.
And I'm Zak.
And today we are talking about all things showreels. Here at Actors Studio, we offer a range of different showreel service options, whether that's through courses, whether that's through bespoke showreel services, editing services. So we've seen our fair share of showreels.
Fair enough.
And we get a lot of questions about them. So we thought, you know what, we're going to sit down over a nice cup of coffee and talk about everything that we love most about showreels and also everything that we don't love about showreels, because there are some things out there which, quite frankly, should never have made the edit. So if you're in the market for a showreel, perhaps you're looking at getting yours set up for 2024 and you're not quite sure which direction to take it in, hopefully today's episode is for you and we'll answer some of those burning questions. So let's get into it. What is a showreel? Well, essentially it's to showcase yourself in your best possible light in terms of what you are able to do as an actor. Mm-hmm. And I think the important part in there is what is your best selling point? What are your best selling points?
Yeah, it's a visible CV. It's all your credits and credentials on screen to see what characters and stuff you can play.
Another important factor, I think, is length. How long should a showreel be?
A showreel really needs to be between 1 and 3 minutes.
Yeah, no longer than 3 minutes. No. You know, sometimes you see stuff out there and it just drags on and on and on and on and on, mm-hmm. and you're just really like, no, it's too long. It's too long. No more than 3 minutes. No. You know, if you're getting it into 1 minute, I'm imagining it's super quick. It's just like, yeah.
Of time lapse of you just changing costume.
Yeah, but you don't want to be cramming yourself into 1 minute, because then you'll end up with a montage, and that is to be avoided in a showreel. An important point there. And that leads me on to what should be included. Well, as we mentioned at the top, casting directors, the classic thing that they always say to us is, show me what you're good at. Show me your best abilities. Don't put in there something that you're trying for the first time. It's like, oh, I've given an accent a go. I want to cram that in the showreel because now I can do a Southern Californian accent. No. You know, unless you've gone away and really executed that accent to a T, and you've got cast in a role, and you know now you've got a beautiful scene that's got the Southern Californian accent in. What? Did you think I was going to try a Southern Californian accent?
No.
Good.
I hope not.
Okay. You know, fine, get that in there.
Yeah, it's just 3 minutes of your best work, of what you are strongest at, and just showing you as the best actor that you can possibly be.
And it brings us into something which we are going to get onto later in the episode, and that is, where should you be sourcing this showreel material? Are you better off investing into getting material made for you, or is there a collection of material that you can use from previous work to put into your showreel? What's going to have the best impact in terms of marketing yourself and your abilities? Is it the work that you've done, or is it going out there and paying a showreel service provider, whether it's somebody like us, Actors Studio, or anyone else on the market, providing you with that bespoke content? What's going to have the best impact in terms of casting directors? And we will come on to that. Yeah. And then lastly, what should you be avoiding? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, do not bother with a montage. It doesn't showcase anything. There is always an opportunity, and I personally quite like this, and a couple of casting directors I've spoken to have sort of indifferent about it, and that is 6 seconds at the top of a little opener, which might be somewhat of a montage. But, you know, no more than that. And when we talk about that opener, that is where your information would be. And again, we are going to come onto that in more detail in terms of what should be in the showreel, but what should you avoid? The montage is a big one. Avoid old material of yourself. No one wants to see something of you on screen 20 years ago. No. You looked far younger.
I was going to say, workshop material. We get a lot of actors who are asking, what we filmed in class, can I put that as part of my showreel? Because they think, yes, it was a good performance, but it's not professionally lit. You're not getting the right coverage, and quite frankly, it just looks like workshop material.
Yeah, and I think there's not only the production value element, so the fact that it doesn't look like a finished product. It is just, essentially it looks as good as a poor self-tape sometimes. The workshop material, you've got to take into account a number of things, and that is how many people have done that workshop, how many people have performed that scene, right? Chances are quite a lot, right? If it's an ongoing class, you look at any of the workshops running in London, these workshops tend to use a lot of the same material for actors. Well, I personally wouldn't want in my showreel something that 300-400 other actors have all filmed. It's like, if you bear in mind how many showreels casting directors are looking at and how many new actors are, even if it's submitting to agents, it's like, how many times am I going to have to watch a workshop scene? How many times have I seen this snippet of, EastEnders, or this snippet of whatever film it may be, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, whatever. There's these classic scenes that crop up in workshops, and you don't really want that in your showreel. Plus the fact it's a place to learn and to grow, and ideally you will come away from a workshop and get even better. And that does, again, it comes onto a topic which we will be going into more detail later on, and that is, how regularly should you be updating your showreel? If you're coming straight at the back of a workshop and wanting to cram showreel material in, how long is it going to be that content that you've just learned embeds itself into what you're able to do, and all of a sudden, you're a 10 times better actor now than you were 6 months ago or a year ago, and it's like, okay, right, I need another showreel.
Yeah, and it's important as well, because sometimes, when you do a showreel course, there is a part of time where you've filmed the scene, but you're not going to get the edited scene, and then you might feel that gap of however so many weeks with more training, which means by the time you get your showreel, you feel you're better. Yeah. You feel you've got stronger. Yeah,
and you look back at your material and think, oh, well, I don't know, I can do better than that.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. But that's the nature of it, and you've got to be quite clever with what you pick and when you pick it.
The timing of a showreel,
where it goes in the showreel,
Yeah. Don't rush it into getting a showreel. No. So having outlined some of the facts of a showreel, I think let's dive deep into the nuts and bolts. And I think the first thing, let's answer this: why do you need a showreel?
Well, there's 2 key points. To get casting and to get agents. And
this is kind of what we opened on, and that is, you've really got to look at where you are in your career timing wise as to when is it right to get a showreel, and if you've already got one, when's the right time to be updating it. You don't want to be updating it every 5 minutes, because unless you are literally getting cast every 5 minutes in these amazing projects. But chances are you're not going to be getting material from this work super quickly. So let's go on the agent topic. Let's just start with that. So you've come out of drama school. You've maybe completed a year's worth of training in individual courses, whatever it may be, and you're now thinking, right, I know I've got some good quality training under my belt, but I've got nothing to show for it. So what do I do? Well, I want to get an agent because I now want to get work. Well, how are you going to get an agent? First thing an agent is more than likely going to want to see, or going to want you to do, if they do accept you based on nothing and you're very lucky, they're going to want you to go out and get yourself a showreel. And what is the need for that? Well, if an agent's going to represent you, they're going to know what they're representing and the kind of thing that they're going to be able to invest in. Each agent will have their individual speciality, I suppose.
Yeah, like strengths.
Yeah, they'll have their different strengths. And if you're early on in your career, without taking this completely off topic into agents, you're not going to be coming out of drama school and going to a top agent necessarily. You're going to be going to a sort of smaller agency, and they're going to want just some fundamentals of what can you showcase? What sort of characters am I going to be putting you up for? Because they need to see that.
Because they need to see if they're right for you in terms of what their network is. Yeah. So their network, each agent's network is going to be different. Yes, there will be similarities where bridges cross, but it's really they're going to be saying, you know, you need to tell me what you're good at, and I can see if I'm the agent for you.
Yeah.
So that comes down to their networking. So it goes hand in hand. You guys help each other in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spotlight, they've said a showreel is an essential. It's a must. It's a given, and it's so true. Well, why is that? Well, because I think it shows a number of things. It shows you're invested in your career as an actor. You know, this is genuinely what you want to do. So let's compare a different part of the industry, right? As a director, and this is answering our question: why do you need a showreel? Right? As a director, somebody comes to me and approaches me for work. What is that based off? That can be based off my CV, sure, but they need to align my CV with something visually on screen, right? And you know, we were talking about this earlier. It's a visual industry we work in. We need to see these things. Ultimately, as Tim Kent once said, I can't believe I'm saying that in an Actor Studio podcast. It's what's on screen that counts. But it is kind of true. And that goes for, if I'm a director and I'm going up and I'm trying to push myself to, I really want to direct a police drama. Well, the production company are going to want to see that I've directed some police dramas before, right? And that I'm able to do that. What are my creative decisions in a police drama? How do I tell a story? What sort of shots am I using? What sort of actors am I working with? That's from a directorial showreel point of view. Well, if we take why do I need a showreel in that capacity and on the actor's capacity, and you know, we're casting for a police drama. Have you done any work in a police drama before? Have you played a copper? Have you been in that sort of environment? And if you have done that, were you good at it? What performance choices did you make? And these more nuanced expressions and analysis can only be achieved from a good quality bit of acting. And that's, again, it comes back to that point of don't bother with the montage. You can't see somebody act in a montage. You might look fantastic on screen, but you can't act.
Yeah.
You know, anyone can look amazing on screen against a bit of music. Hello.
Nice score.
Yeah, and a lovely score.
But yeah, and as you can see, we've developed into casting now because they're so closely linked, agents and casting. You know, Nathan's talking about just need to display what you're going up for in terms of directing and what you want to achieve. It's the exact same with acting. If casting directors are looking at 4 to 5 different actors for a role in a drama that's cop related or things like that, and they see you and you've only done periods and rom-coms and more funny comedy, then they're going to compare that to someone who's done 3 detective scenes and a bit more gritty and a bit more dramatised.
They can slot straight in.
They can slot straight in, and it gives them that visual, oh, that's going to work. Let me push that towards the director to see if that works.
Yeah, and it is. It's the showreel. Why do you need it? Well, it's a fundamental part of the casting process. It helps immediately narrow down potential actors for a casting, right? No, you can't always bring people into the audition room. As we know, the last 3 years, casting has become a lot more online, and more than ever, that showreel is a fundamental part of that. If you've got 60, however many actors in a pool for a big feature, whatever, how do you narrow and isolate these down? Well, you can quickly do that from the showreel. Just rewinding very quickly on a point that we've both mentioned, and that is, we were using the police drama as the example, right? I'm going to go for somebody who's got the police drama, whatever. But equally, on the flip side of that, it opens opportunities for you to slot into roles you might not have done before. And, you know, I think we might have talked about this on a previous episode, and that is not missing out on opportunities that perhaps you haven't considered. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that your showreel goes up in front of a casting director, and you've got the rom-com and you've got the period drama stuff, and you've gone up for a police drama. Well, casting directors, they don't tend to think for face value. They will think outside the box, and they'll see the rom-com and think, do you know what? They would be great, not necessarily for this role, but I could slot them into another role that we're casting at the moment. And you know, that sort of comes to that thing of always saying yes to opportunities, because you might not be right for this role, but you can often find yourself slotting into another role within the production. And it's really good to have that value of being seen by casting directors. Even if you don't get the part, it doesn't matter, because they've seen your material and they might find you just slot in somewhere else.
Yeah, that's interesting. If we put that with another job, like they always say it's always good to keep having interviews and keep going to interviews and going through that process, because you get more comfortable with it, and then you might see yourself in roles that are different. So it's one of those things, keep that practice, keep that, and as Nathan says, you might slot into another role. And I think one thing that would be good to talk about is how the self-taping can work with the showreel. So obviously, you know, if you haven't got any cop drama stuff, but obviously you're going to send them a self-tape of you doing that, then that will work hand in hand with your CV and your showreel to best promote yourself.
Yeah, you deliver an amazing tape.
Exactly.
But also, I can do this.
Exactly. This is with production value, and this is a different spin on what I've done in the past in terms of a cop drama. I know we keep saying that.
Yeah.
There's something in our mind.
Yeah.
About a cop drama.
We better go and do a cop drama.
Yeah, I think it's about time.
Yeah. And then finally on that, why do you need? Well, it's a chance for first impressions. You know, there's nothing. A picture tells 1,000 words, while a video, 24 frames, 24 pictures a second, tells 1,000 times 24. So there's a lot of maths to be done there. Somebody backstage can figure that one out. Thanks, Maddie. Oh.
Is that cut deep?
Yeah. Sarge. God bless her. It allows you to convey those first impressions, and immediately you get a sense of a personality that can be achieved through characters. So those are some of the fundamentals on why you need a showreel. You can get your key information in there. You can hopefully get yourself an agent and showcase to them what you are good at. Same for casting directors, and it's a fundamental part of the casting process that's going to be used as a tool more than anything. So you're doing yourself a big favour. So that's why you need a showreel. Mm-hmm. Let's continue on. What could be in that showreel? I know we've touched on a couple of points, but let's go into more detail. What can a showreel display? Let's look at that 3-minute template that we've said, no longer than 3 minutes. And I do quickly want to mention, I know, I always go off topic and they're shouting in my ear. That is, what can actors do to know how long their showreel should be? Well, how many times do we sit down and watch a showreel and switch off and skip through?
Mm-hmm. Oh my!
All the king time.
Yeah, that was good. Yes,
all the time.
All the time.
So if you're sat here right now and you've got us playing on in the background, and on the other screen you're in iMovie, balls deep in editing your showreel, and you're thinking, "Ooh, how long should it be? Ooh, what clip should I put where?" Go onto Spotlight, open any other actor's showreel, and just watch it. What do? You'll end up skipping through and you'll end up switching off. Mm-hmm. You need to grab somebody by the bollocks immediately, right in the opener. So I just wanted to mention that. It's a really good way of just go and watch other people's showreels, see when you switch off. Why did you switch off? Was it because the scene wasn't engaging? Was it because the scenes were running too long? Were they only showing one character type? You know, what was it? So you can speak now.
I was going to say, and put yours to the test. If you've got one, send it to someone. Get their feedback. Sit with someone while they're watching.
Not your mum and dad.
No, because they'll always say you look beautiful and you look amazing. Yeah. But sit with someone and see where their attention goes. Yes, if you can send it across and someone will say, "Oh yeah, I loved it," but they might not have watched it. Yeah. But you can see where the attention goes and why that goes, and it's really important to grab that and then see it and then actually implement it onto your show.
Yeah, and it can immediately isolate what should be in there. Because if there's a specific scene that people are getting bored on, bin it.
Yeah, if you know, sometimes we skip through some and the scene doesn't change. Yeah, it's like you keep skipping.
The same.
Oh, we keep coming back to this one.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's you've got to that comes down to, it's important with where things go with a showreel.
Yeah, if you're jumping between scenes, which is a method and it can be used, you start with one scene, you go to another, you come back to the scene that you started the showreel on. It is a format and it can be used, but sometimes it doesn't work in your favour, because if a casting director's in a rush, as they always are, and jumping through a showreel, skipping through, I always do it, you end up just watching the same thing and you think, oh, do you know what, moving on. So let's break down the structure of it. So let's go with that 3 minutes we've talked about. An opening slate, really useful bit of information. What's your name? What's your spotlight pin? What's your contact details for your agent? If you've not got an agent, it's going to be your acting email that's on there.
It's important when it comes to name. Some actors have acting names, so it's important to make sure you put your acting name, not your no name.
And make a bloody decision on your name.
Oh, yeah.
I have talked about this in a previous episode. If you're choosing your name, just get on with it and choose it and stick with it.
Stick with it consistently.
Don't be changing name every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some actors I've met, and each time you meet them, it's a different name. It's like, oh no, I've got a different name now. Why?
And it's small things like emails. If you get an email from an Alex Goodson and then you get a showreel from Gustavo, it's just who
are you? Who are you?
And it's those little small things you don't think make an impact, but they do. It's having it all clean. Get yourself your own proper email that is in line.
But that opening slate, you can put your name on there. You can put your spotlight details, contact details, all of that. But also, if you've got a nice, solid, quality headshot, we've talked about those. There's another episode on them. Get your headshot in there. Why? It immediately identifies who we're watching. Sometimes I've seen reels put together and, an actor's done a really good job and gone out there and managed to source the material from all these different shows they've been in, but they're in a four-hander scene and, they got sort of 6 seconds of close-up screen time, and sometimes you lose track of who I'm watching.
Yeah.
They're on Tom Cruise for the majority of the scene, and then you've got your little 10 seconds in there.
Yeah, and that comes to the beginning, grabbing. You don't want the first thing that the casting director's eye is trying to figure out who they're watching.
Yeah.
It's, you want to know who you are, and it's like, right, okay, I'm going to focus on them and what they're doing.
Yeah, and, if you're working with a bigger casting house, chances are that the time it gets to the casting director, depending on the project, they might not have shimmied through all of the CVs. They will be presented with a shortlist. And when they're presented with a shortlist, chances are it'll be the showreels. So they're not going to have the time to go back and say, what does this person look like? Who are they? All of this information. You just want to make it as easy as possible for you to be front center in the spotlight, literally. So having that headshot on the opening slate is important, okay? Moving on to the rest of the format of this 3 minutes. Let's talk about your abilities. Your ability as an actor. We have touched on this on the opener. We used our police drama as an example. But it's the phrase I hear time and time again from casting directors across the board, and that is, show me what you're good at. Going on to perhaps a bit more detail than I should in this section, and that is, if you're wanting to show what you're good at, how can you do that? How can you show what you're good at if you've never been given the chance? And I'll touch on it now because we are coming on to it later, and that is going and getting content made for you to showcase what you're good at. And that comes back to the relationship of actor and agent. You get an agent and they say, right, I want you to really showcase your comedy skills. They meet you, you have conversations, you have a good long chat, and they see that you're a really funny person. You're hilarious, right? And perhaps you've done a few self-tapes for comedy, but you've never got further than that. It's not in your showreel. Well, sometimes you will have to make the investment and go out there and get the specific scenes made for your showreel, which we will come on to. So showcasing what you're good at is really important. Don't put something in there just because it was really high production value and you were a tiny little speck in the background of an establishing shot. Yeah. Don't be putting essay work in there. Even if it's, sometimes you get featured essay work and you don't even have a line of dialogue. There's not much use in seeing that you were in a lovely period drama scene and came in and delivered the tea on the table.
leave that for the credits. Leave that for you put in your CV. That doesn't need to be in the showreel.
Yeah, it's not of huge benefit. It's the juicy acting that somebody wants to see. The range of characters. It's a topic of conversation which is always really tricky.
Yeah.
It's one of those that we can't really answer in a podcast. What characters should I put in there? Because it's going to be different for everyone. Sometimes I've seen showreels where an actor is regularly cast and they are just the go-to for the mean guy, right?
Yeah.
You're the mean guy. And you've got a showreel full of mean guy content. And that's great. Because you've got a really clear, easy selling point. That's your thing. But on the flip side of that, you don't want to have something that kind of sits at the same level, depending on the actor you are. And that's what I mean by us not being able to necessarily answer that in this episode, because it will be different for each actor. Some actors are just born mean guys, or mean girls, right? They're just born the evil villain. And that's their thing, and that's great, and that is what their showreel is full of. But sometimes these sort of actors will get to a point and they're like, I don't want to play the mean guy anymore. I don't want to play the mean person. I don't want to be the villain.
Big career pivot.
Yeah, and you're not going to go out. You're not going to go and get cast for that. You're going to have to again make that investment. So when you're making your choices, think about the roles that you want. What roles do you gravitate towards, and what roles do you know you're good at, and what is it that you want? And that's where you've got to make that decision. If there is a role out there that you want and you know you can do because you've done the work, you've done the training, you've read the scripts, you've done the research, go and make the investment, get that scene in your showreel, and put it forefront, put it at the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's important not to force the character range. Don't force having so many characters if you're not comfortable by playing them.
Yeah.
It's if you're the mean guy, push the mean guy. If that's what you want to be doing, push it and put your strengths in it. But if you're, it's not bad to not have a big character range. Some actors are just good at a couple of those characters and do them so well.
That's it. Yeah.
And then there's other actors who are really versatile in comedy and drama and high stakes, low stakes and all this sort of stuff. That's brilliant. There's no right or wrong. It's just about making sure that you're pushing what's good for you, not
trying to tick boxes.
Not trying to tick boxes and not what's good for the industry. No, it's what's good for you. What do you like playing and what do you want to play?
Yeah, and it can be confusing because you look at a reel and this comes with your evolution as an actor. The more you grow and the more you start to find your feet in specific roles, you sometimes do start off with a very vague showreel.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, I can do a bit of everything. I can do like 60% of everything. And then all of a sudden certain roles start to become like, right, I'm really good at these.
Yeah.
And they want to become the forefront. Because it can be tricky. You sit and it's like, well, they're pretty good at comedy, they're pretty good at drama, they're not bad at the really crazy stuff. But there's something missing. There's something missing. Whereas you get another reel, it's like, oh wow, they were born to play these kind of roles. And that can be expanded and developed into a new character for that project.
Definitely. And I think also sometimes you as you develop as an actor, you sort of, I want to say, unlock the ability to do a certain performance.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't naturally, really emotional scenes don't naturally come to someone. Sometimes they fall more into the masking and comedy. But as they develop and they learn new techniques and be more comfortable in front of screen, then they can start showing those emotions and then that's when you can start implementing more when you feel more comfortable with it. But there's no point trying to plumb that in when it's not there yet.
Exactly. And then finally on what should be in there, well, I think the basic I'd say is, does the scene warrant being your best work? Is it your absolute best? And if it's not, don't bother putting it in there. Does it warrant the screen time? 3 minutes sounds like a long time, but if you've got a bit of material on your hands, all of a sudden it starts to get chewed up very quickly. I've sat down and edited reels in the past, and with actors who have got all sorts of material, and some of it has been a lot of the same. A bunch of comedy stuff and then a bunch of really psycho stuff, and you're thinking, oh God, I don't know which bits to choose because that's really funny and that's really funny. But you really do have to be harsh on yourself and on your own work and think, no, do you know what? Yes, it's good, but this is a lot better. And you've got to make those hard decisions. And as Zak mentioned earlier, you can't always do that by yourself. No. And especially once you've seen something over and over and over again. I mean, editing a film, you become a bit stale and dry to it. And you know what word falls and you know what it's cutting to next. So it all becomes a bit stagnant. So get that second opinion.
And you preempt what emotion you should feel and all this sort of stuff instead of actually what emotion you do feel. Yeah. You can sit there with 5 2-minute scenes and you've got a lot of content there that needs to be put down into 3 minutes. You can almost have one scene that's 3 minutes and you think, oh, well, the scene was fantastic the whole way through. But you've got to take maybe, I don't know, however much content, you've got to take maybe 20 seconds of that scene and put it in there, and that's where the choices come, and that's where the timing of each little segment is really important.
It is, and then I think just one little thing to answer, and because it might crop up as a question, you got specialist skills, stage combat, singing, dancing, whatever it may be. Should that be in your show reel? Well, if you're on Spotlight, you've got a number of different tabs. You can have more than one bit of footage on there. And I think it's important to separate that content because depending on the role you're going up for, you're going to be supplying a different piece of material. Your main show reel is your main trailer. It's your biggest selling point. And sure, if you want to slip a little bit of something in there, if it's the horse riding stuff or if it's a bit of the stage combat, you can, but it shouldn't occupy and eat up into minutes of where your acting ability is. And we talked about having that opening slate. If you've got that, why not have an opening slate with a background video that's it's got 4 videos all playing at the same time, or a really quick cut of a few things, you stabbing someone or riding on the back of a horse or whatever, behind your name and your headshot, fine, just creep that in there, but don't let it occupy screen time of your show reel.
Definitely. And also, as Nathan says, it goes on Spotlight. If not, that's where the separation of showreel and CV comes. You can put that into your CV, show those sort of skills on paper, where that will help reinforce but not take over the visual content, which needs to be there, which needs to be acute and really important. Yeah.
So let's move on. And having discussed what should be in the show reel, let's discuss what makes a good show reel and compare that against what makes a bad show reel. So what is it that makes a good show reel? Well, I think one that grabs your attention from the start and leaves a lasting impression at the end. Something you come away from.
A little bit like that sentence.
Yeah.
It grabs you and then leaves.
And then leaves you sort of sat there thinking, ooh.
Is he going to finish it?
Is he going to? I quite like that. So, cliffhangers are always a nice ending. Even if it's story-wise, it's a cliffhanger. So you sort of, you leave a cinematic, ooh. And it's, if you've achieved that well in your performance, a cliffhanger, I'm left thinking, as a reminder, God, that was a juicy ending. Who was that? Oh, it was this person.
It's not written in their eyes. There's something going on. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you've got to grab attention by the start. The pacing of the reel really sort of develops the point. So what I mean by that is don't hold on clips for too long. Don't let a scene run on forever and ever and ever. But equally, try and get a mixture of pace scenes in there. Whether it is, if it's all dramatic stuff or it's all comedy stuff, try and get a variation in pace, both in your performance and stylistically in the cut that's been chosen. If everything sits at a flat level, it all kind of blends into one.
Yeah, if as we said, if you've got those 3 minutes, don't put 20 seconds to make it look clean. It then just becomes predictable, and it's like it doesn't come. Each cut doesn't suit what you're trying to convey. If it's high intensity, low intensity, dramatic, soft. It is really important.
Yeah, just pull out the best parts of whatever it is that you're putting in your show reel. Also, something we mentioned earlier, if somebody is utilising, their selling point is the mean person, right? Well, the mean person needs to show a variation in mean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meanie, meanie. They've got to show that variation in what it is that they're achieving. So if you've got your key selling point, your calling card is the copper, show a variation in pace and performance of the copper. There's got to be some variety in there, even if it is around the same sort of casting bracket that you've been given, that you've got.
Confidence, backstory, that sort of development in trust. Do I trust? Do I not? It can all be shown. Yeah, you are playing the same character, but there's different stakes and different objectives in the scene. So try to convey that, one through the performance, of course, but that comes with what has already happened. But once you've got that showreel, convey it with the pace.
Absolutely.
Convey it with those little moments within that scene where you felt like, oh, I really did show the anticipation, I did show the confidence, I did show the lack of confidence in those areas.
Yeah, completely. The production value element, another thing that makes a good showreel. It's if you've got all really sort of low, cheap stuff in there. I mean, I've seen people stitch self-tapes together, and it's a bit lackluster. It doesn't show a real investment and commitment, and also it doesn't really show that you're in demand.
Yeah, and it comes to we spoke about workshop material. That's why it's low production value. It's low. It's low on quality and information in performance. With a big production value, you almost skip what you're watching and really focus on the minute details which you want to convey. You want to show the little twitches, the little nuances in your performance.
And you miss that if you're thinking about the fact that the sound is terrible, or that it's out of focus.
Trying to put the brightness up.
And it's dark and it's hard to watch. You know, casting directors, believe it or not, they are human. And I'm sure I've said this before in an episode. I say it in workshops I run. When you're doing yourself tapes, compare it to a YouTube video you watch for a tutorial. If you're trying to fix your kitchen sink and you go on YouTube and you start a tutorial and the sound is appalling, the video is shaky, you switch it off and you watch another one. And that is exactly the same for showreels, it's exactly the same for tapes. So when you've got that showreel material down in front of you, if there are clips in there that are of poor quality, don't bother putting them in, because it can really be of detriment. And it's unfortunate because you are sometimes left with material that you thought was amazing, but the production value really sucks the energy out of it. So it's not worth doing that. And, you know, I think that's where the investment can be of real benefit, and going out there and paying to have bespoke material made for you. Keeping it current is really important. For somebody who's working regularly, being able to put content in there and mention what it is that it's from, and these little title cards can be useful. If you've got an opening clip, what was it from? Right, The Crown, Netflix, boom, nice, solid opening. Okay, they're in demand. What year was this? 2023. Okay, this is current. This is an actor that's currently working, has just come off the back of a really good production. Brilliant. Let's get some dates in there. You know, you don't want to be dragging up stuff from years ago because you thought it was great. It shows that you've not worked for a long time.
It is quite often that you do take a gap in your career and sometimes go on to something else. If you're then coming back, you do need to start getting some more recent showreel material made.
Yeah.
Instead of just currently pumping the old one you had out, because things have changed and the way filming changes, it's always constant change. So you need to make sure you keep on top of the current times of film.
Yeah. Another thing I think that makes for a good showreel is a variety of looks. In the same way with a headshot, you will showcase a variety of looks, and you've got your key selling points that you achieve in character. Those looks that really sell you. Getting those in your showreel is a great thing. And when I say a variety of looks, I mean both physically but also cinematically. If everything looks the same, naturally it all kind of falls into one thing.
From a directorial point of view, who you're playing against, different characters you're playing against, and different settings and stakes and all these little things that can show a variation.
Yeah, don't be acting opposite. I don't want to be acting opposite you, because in a lot of ways we'd fall into a similar casting bracket, right? Similar age, similar kind of look. But in general terms, you want to be playing against people that have a pretty different look to you, so that the attention isn't right. I'm sat down and I'm casting for a brunette, mid-30s female, Irish accent, who's playing the villain, she's the sort of femme fatale villain, and you're in a scene opposite a brunette Irish girl who's also playing a bit of a nasty character. It's not going to work in your favour, is it? You know, and that's not to say you want to be opposite terrible actors. No. Not at all, because
that's the opposite.
The worst thing you could do. But you don't want to be opposite people who are in a similar casting bracket to you. It's the same way, same thing with when you're getting an agent. You don't want to be securing an agent who's already got 20 people on their book that fall into the same demographic that you do, because you're not going to stand out in with the agent supplying, you know, CVs to casting directors. It's like, well, I got a lot to choose from here. Yeah. So it's the same thing with your reel. Make sure that, again, it comes back to that, you're forefront, you're in the spotlight, you know, and you're not putting yourself out of work by showing that somebody else can do the character better. The cinematic variation in looks, you know, some of the scenes, are they dark? Some of the scenes, are they sort of more lighter comedy scenes, you know, looser frame sizes? You know, people look different from all different sorts of angles. If you go with a good showreel company, a good showreel provider, I mean, one of the things that we try to achieve is a real variation in cinematic looks between scenes, so that you walk away with a polished product that pretty much showcases you every angle. You know, you get some looser shots in there that shows physically, right, what's your build, what's your size, what's your height on set, on screen. What colour are your eyes? What do you look like in 3/4 profile? What are you like in profile? You know, it's one of those things. You see a picture of someone and then you meet them and you think, oh, hello.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing also. What this difference in cinematic can show also is your technical ability. If you've got loads of scenes where you're just sat and you're just opposite someone, it doesn't show your physical performance and your ability to work with handheld, your ability to work with different obstacles within a performance. It's important to show that you can deliver a perfect performance sat, but you can also do it stood and skipping. You can do it going up the stairs. You can do it in a car. You can do it here and there. It's about showing that versatility and consistency through multiple layers of what can be thrown at you in a film set.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, I think it's important that you don't have to avoid being different. If you've got something that's really quirky that you can do, I'm thinking of an actor now that actually did a showreel with us a few years ago, and I won't say what it was that she was able to do because it was quite bizarre. It was a bit naughty actually. It was a bit dirty, but it was hilarious. And this little unique talent that she had, we embedded it into a scene that we worked on her with when we were writing the scripts, and we got it in her showreel. And as a result, she has been cast based on that funny little thing that she can do. Specifically, you know, a few commercial roles and a couple of acting gigs. So don't be afraid of being different. Another one which I can say was, it was a girl, she was also a puppeteer. So we thought, well, okay, well, how can we spin on that? How can we get that into the showreel? Well, we did a scene where she had a full conversation. She played a duologue. It was her and a puppet. And she could do all these different voices without the mouth moving, all of this sort of stuff. And we got that into the showreel. And there's a real unique talent that she had. And it comes on to that point of, we didn't force it in, we developed it into a scene that was organic. It wasn't, oh, here's me doing puppet work. It was, no, I can act and do the puppet work all in one. So don't be afraid of having a bizarre, quirky skill that you've got. And if you've got it, find a way to embed it and implement it into the reel. And it comes on to that opportunity. You won't sometimes get that in a role because you've never been able to showcase it. Whereas if you go out and you invest in getting a showreel made for you from scratch, you've got the chance to communicate with that company and discuss how you can implement these things. So finally, let's discuss how you can acquire material. And I know we've trickled this throughout the entire episode. We've discussed sort of paying to have a bespoke showreel, acquiring material from work that you've done, people wanting to use workshop stuff. What are the advantages and disadvantages to using content from productions versus going out there and paying for a showreel? And whether that's a showreel off the back of a course, and there's a number of different providers, us included in that, or just going straight in for the showreel. And a lot of that comes with timing. So you get material from productions, right? Well, that tends to be with actors that are now working. They're in a position where they've done the training, they've gone out there and they've got their showreel, and now they're getting the material from productions. Well, the disadvantage is sometimes it can take forever to get. And one of the points that we've made is keeping your content relevant and up to date. Now, you might be lucky and they might give you the content super quick. Now, unions have said that actors they are entitled to get material from something that they've worked on to use in their showreel. So they will get it, but sometimes it can take ages, and equally, it might not be cut in your favour. It's going to be cut for the benefit of the show, the benefit of the director, what it is that they're trying to achieve with the story. It's not going to be always on you for your acting, and if you're in a smaller part, you might have a tiny bit of screen time.
Yeah, lines might be cut, certain parts of your performance might be cut, which then sort of doesn't make sense in terms of what you felt your performance was, but makes sense in terms of story. Yeah. So it's story driven instead of performance and story driven. So it can leave a lot of questions instead of a lot of answers. Yeah,
it does. So it's great because you will, if it's a good production, you'll come away with really high-end, solid material. It's professional because it's been broadcast wherever, but it might not be in your favour. So it's up for judgment. If you're waiting for ages and you're without material, you've got to go out there and you've got to invest. So let's talk about the differences between showreel material from courses. When's the right time to do that, and also going in and just paying to have a showreel made. Now, we get it all the time. We offer a bespoke showreel service. It's called the Rising Star, and it is exactly that. It's for rising actors, emerging talent who are looking to now get their name out on the market. They've got their agent, and their agent sat down with them and said, right, this is what we need in your showreel. And all the time, people come here and they make a real success of it. They go back with their agent, and sometimes it's even for a specific part. Their agent said, right, you're going up for, this was one we had, you're going up for Stranger Things. We need, right now, you've got nothing in your showreel that's ticking the boxes of what they need to get you into Stranger Things. So their agent sent them to us. We made them a showreel specifically with the 3 scenes in, showing the diversity that they needed to get the role in Stranger Things. They got their showreel, they got it off, they submitted it, they got shortlisted, they narrowed it down, and they got the part in Stranger Things. A very good part, really long, big part, right? Great, amazing. And the benefit of that was it was tailor-made for what they needed. So that's a real advantage of going bespoke. The other thing might be that you are completely, and we've mentioned this earlier, literally fresh out of training. Now I know I'm ready to showcase what I'm good at. It's time to invest in a bespoke showreel. We get it a lot where people come to us and they've done a couple of courses and they're like, right now I want a showreel. They're not the people that are ready to invest in a bespoke showreel. Sometimes it can be expensive. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we are the cheapest provider of showreels, because we're not. There are far more affordable options out there. But we really think that our package offers, great value in terms of the price point it's at. Now, it's not in everyone's budget, and that's completely fair enough. So however much you're spending, whether you're spending £100 or you're spending £10,000, something stupid on a showreel, whatever it is, you've got to make sure that the timing is right. Because if you are going and getting content made for you, are you ready to really sell yourself? Are you at the best of your ability? Have you done the vocal work to know how to really optimize your voice when you step on set? Have you found a way to analyze scripts beyond the page to such a degree that you can completely rework a scene from a psychopath drama to a comedy? What are your abilities, and are they ready to be shown? And really, that point we made at the beginning, showing what you're good at. If you invest in getting a bespoke showreel made, and you know that in 2 weeks' time you're about to commit to a 4-week course that you're going to improve on, you'll get to the end of that 4-week course and think, oh, God's sake, I'm so much better at acting now. I'm a much better actor. Now it's going to be a tricky one, because you're going to spend your entire life improving, but you've got to choose your times and you've got to choose your moments to really think, right, I'm entering a new chapter. and I know that now I'm here, and my showreel currently is here. It's time for it to be updated.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously that's broadening on performance, but also it's also, you know, when we spoke about the actor who came and done the Stranger Things, they knew exactly what they needed. Yeah. They knew they were stepping into a bespoke showreel, and they could say, I need this scene, that scene, and this,
and I know I can do it.
And I know I can deliver that, and I know that's it. That's all I need. But sometimes we've had positions where we're sort of like, oh, I don't really know. I feel like if I could put into that. I feel comfortable in a comedy, and
it's all very vague.
It's all vague, and it's all if, buts, and maybes. It's not, I know my agent said this, or I'm going to go for this agent, and they're sort of looking for that sort of thing from me, so I need to do that. It's about being really confident in what you need, because it is a lot of money to spend if you're just looking to maybe fill some gaps and get some content, but with no real gravity on it playing a big part in your getting casting and getting agents.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, are you confident on set? Now, why do we offer courses with a showreel attached? Well, we know from experience that there's a lot of actors out there who don't spend a huge amount of time on set, right? You spend a lot of time out of work. And when you're rusty on set, it can really impact your performance. When you're not comfortable in front of camera, when you're not comfortable with the technicalities of how set operates, it all falls apart. And you think, my God, I was rehearsing this at home, I did amazing in the audition, and now I'm on set and I'm
left foot in front of the right.
I can't walk. I can't even stand. I can't even hit my mark. Yeah. And as a result, your performance is affected.
And then you start losing the lines, and then you start getting flustered.
And the whole thing, it just becomes a mess. Yeah. So we offer the Showreel Courses because it's for people who are in a position to get a showreel. They know what it is that they want to achieve. They know that they can perform, right, as a given, but they just need that little boost of confidence before they step on set and before they record the material. You know, if you're going up for a bespoke package, it's not a chance to learn. That's a chance to show. Whereas a course with a showreel is a chance to learn and then show.
Yeah, it's like a little runway. It's you're there in a say that's a 5-block period. You've got 1, 2, 3 days of training, feeling comfortable in front of camera, getting yourself more confident and open, and actually having that really a fun ability to be ready, and then you get to the rehearsal. So you rehearse the scene, and then you're ready to do your performance, and that's when. That's why I said it's like a runway. It's all in one little time frame, and it's boom. Instead of doing a bit of training 3 weeks ago and then going, I want a showreel. Yeah. It's like,
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I'm going to do just literally come in, turn up, cold feet, straight into set, and be expected to deliver. Yeah. It's difficult, and then obviously, as we said, that's when it can start getting really messy. Yeah. And it happens very quickly, and it happens very often because we're humans. It flusters and you get nervous, and then you start overthinking things and not thinking about the performance.
There's a blog on our website which does go into a bit more detail on the benefits of showreel courses and the benefits of investing in a bespoke showreel package. As I mentioned, there are a lot of showreel providers out there. So if you are right now in the market for a showreel, do your research. And in the same way that if I'm casting an actor, I want to see the work they've done. If I'm looking for a showreel, I want to know what the provider has done before. I want to see their work. Don't be going with someone and you're looking at their stuff and thinking, oh, I don't really like that. If you don't like it, don't go with them. Don't feel forced into anything. We offer a bespoke showreel service. We offer the Showreel courses. They might be right for you. You might not like our work, and it's completely up to an actor's interpretation. And I think a huge part of it is feeling comfortable with a showreel provider. If something doesn't feel right, or it feels a bit sort of off market, then don't be spending a lot of money with them. It's really important you do that research, because certainly I've seen in the last few years, off the back of COVID, there are so many showreel providers now. There are hundreds, all of them promoting on Actors UK, on Facebook and things like that. And unfortunately, there are providers out there, and I won't mention names, that are merely a crew with a camera. That is not what you need for a showreel. Anyone can pick up a camera and make something look pretty. You want someone leading the performance. You want someone directing you. You need quality, honest feedback when you're filming your showreel. You don't want someone telling you where to put your head and how to look better in the light. You want someone pulling your performance apart and putting it back together again. And if you're to show yourself at your best, that's the kind of critique that you need, because you're not going to be getting that when you go up for roles. You know, you're not going to have that chance to make mistakes and learn and to get honest feedback. You're just not going to get cast again, or you're going to get cut from the scene. That's how the industry works. So when you're doing your showreel, that's the chance for you to really, really try hard and take a risk, I suppose, and get someone to tell you whether it's working or not.
Dive deep and really put it all out there and work collaboratively with the director and really be open to what they interpret and what you interpret and bring it together.
Yeah, and don't make the mistake of accepting somebody saying, "Oh, I want to film more material for my director's showreel," and say, "Yeah, I'll be a part of it, and in return get material for my showreel," because it's going to work in their favour, not yours. They're going to be after one thing, and you're going to be after another. You know, so that collaborative process is really important.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode. If you did enjoy, give it a thumbs up. Leave us your questions and comments down below. We'll be back very soon to continue our marketing topic. But for more continuous advice, do head over to actorstudio.co.uk and head to the news and advice section. There's always stuff up on there to keep you busy while you're at home. But in the meantime, get out there and keep on acting. That's awful, isn't it? We should come up with a tagline though, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should.
We'll figure that out in the next episode. All right. Bye.
See you later.